Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espey.
Well, first, good evening. Welcome to Update, where we'll take you through the main news of the day before 5:30. Tonight, we will hear more about the assisted dying bill as the Health Minister writes to MHKs because the Ministry of Justice is holding the legislation under review. Also, when will we find out the full cost of the Liverpool Ferry Terminal? Well, it certainly won't be today. The Infrastructure Minister refused to reveal that figure in Keys, and it didn't go well with one MHK. There's also a new survey to help understand changing patterns of behaviour on the island when it comes to medicinal cannabis and other substance misuse. And the founder of Jurby Junk has died at the age of 90. We'll hear the tribute to Stella Pixton. All that, the weather and the weather and the weather. But we'll start with a roundup of the main news headlines with Amy Fastamai.
Former political member of the Department of Infrastructure, Lori Hooper, MHK, says the final cost of the Liverpool Ferry Terminal is now north of £100 million. The Infrastructure Minister wouldn't disclose the figure in the House of Keys, but Tim Crickle confirmed approved funding totalling nearly £73 million has been exhausted.
I would not recommend the Honourable Member to put any other figures out there at this time because it may well compromise our condition.
I wonder if the Minister would agree with me that the figure is now somewhat north of £100 million.
The UK Ministry of Justice is reviewing the island's assisted dying legislation as part of the royal assent process. Health Minister Claire Christian says officials are seeking further assurances on safeguards, including post-death reviews and protections against coercion. Public Health Isle of Man says a new survey that looks to track how medicinal cannabis and other substances are being used across the island will allow it to better understand societal shifts. The study aims to build a fresh research base following the recent changes to cannabis prescription laws. Director of Public Health Matt Tyra says society is always changing.
When there has been a change in the way that people are able to access different services, substances, and it changes in terms of what the societal norm is.
The founder of Jurby Junk, Stella Pixton, has died at the age of 90. The infamous shop in the north of the island closed in 2017 after more than 40 years, so Stella could enjoy her retirement. Her son says she was a truly remarkable woman with a truly unique business strategy and that she'll be remembered by her friends and family with the fondest love. Turning to international news now, and 2 boys have been stabbed at a school in Brent in North London. Police say they've identified a suspect, a teenage boy, and are trying to locate him. Senior Labour figures are continuing to rally around the British Prime Minister after the party's leader in Scotland joined calls for him to quit yesterday. Sir Keir Starmer says he will never walk away from the mandate he was elected on. And Mark Anthony has broken his silence on the feud between Brooklyn Peltz Beckham and his family. The singer, who performed at Brooklyn's wedding, says what's come out is hardly the truth. He told The Hollywood Reporter he's really close with the Beckhams and thinks it's extremely unfortunate how it's playing out. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with the news in full at 6.
Thank you very much indeed, Amy. Now, the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. So it's pretty overcast with some hill fog and further outbreaks of rain and drizzle. That'll continue throughout this evening and overnight. It will become persistent and heavier at times as well. Fresh, locally strong east or southeast winds. Fairly little change in temperatures overnight as well. And then tomorrow, it's going to be another dull and damp day. Further rain throughout most of the day. Moderate to fresh east or southeast winds. Highest temperatures tomorrow again around 9. And then not much better for Thursday, actually. Cloudy, outbreaks of rain, and the rain might be wintry on high ground overnight into Friday as well. Moderate to fresh easterly winds, and best temperatures on Friday will be around 7.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
You listen to Update here on Manx Radio. It's coming up to 5:05, and this is something that's got you talking on socials this afternoon. The Infrastructure Minister has again refused to disclose the final cost of the Liverpool Ferry Terminal. Now, Tim Crickle says legal advice prevents publication, but he did confirm approved funding totalling nearly £73 million had been exhausted. He told the House of Keys that a supplementary vote will be sought from Tynwald as the Department of Infrastructure continues legal action to recover money that's already been spent. Well, the Ramsey MHK Lori Hooper pressed the Minister for the total figure before threatening to reveal it himself.
Previously, the Department was unable to release the capital figure for the Isle of Man Ferry Terminal Liverpool project due to an ongoing dispute between the Department and the delivery teams. I can confirm that the department is working closely with its legal advisers to resolve the ongoing disputes, so I am unable to release the final figure for the construction of the Isle of Man Ferry Terminal, Liverpool, at this time. I am very aware that honourable members of this court, along with the public, are keen to understand the total cost of the Liverpool project. And I wish to bring this project to an end as soon as possible. However, at this time, having taken legal advice, I am unable to release this figure as we are in the process of legal discussions and would not wish to compromise our position.
So I'm just going to put the Minister on notice here. I know what the number is, roughly speaking, because I was in the department. Seeing as every time I ask a question I seem to be getting accused of, well, I mustn't have done my job properly if I don't know the answers to these questions, I'm going to give the Minister an opportunity now to actually provide that information to this Honourable House before I do so in my final supplementary question.
Reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would not recommend the honourable member to put any other figures out there at this time because it may well compromise our condition with the contractors.
Mr. Hooper.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I wonder if the Minister would agree with me that the figure is now somewhat north of £100 million in terms of the final overall cost of the ferry terminal.
Well, that was Ramsey MHK Laurie Hooper in the House of Keys today, and the Infrastructure Minister Tim Crookall. I'm not sure we will have heard the end of that one. Now, we also had an update today from the Health and Social Care Minister about the Isle of Man's assisted dying bill. It follows concerns that Westminster's involvement is delaying the legislation's path to royal assent, as Lewis Foster reports.
We've heard today that the Health Minister Claire Christian has written to all members of the House of Keys setting out the latest position following discussions between the Manx government and the UK's Ministry of Justice. This is after the bill was submitted for policy assurance as part of the royal assent process. You might remember the bill was approved on the Isle of Man in March last year, and since then we've heard that the Ministry of Justice has written to the government here about the bill 12 times. Well, in the letter to members, Ms Christian explains that the ministry sought additional reassurance on two human rights issues: the operation of post-death reviews in assisted dying cases and the robustness of safeguards against coercion. Chief Minister Alfred Cannon was questioned on this in the House of Keys.
The Ministry of Justice cannot change the legislation, but they do have a duty to review that legislation and, of course, then recommend it for royal assent, and that is part of the process that we follow on all our legislation. And I have no evidence in any way that the Manx Bill is connected in any way with the UK Assisted Dying Bill.
The Department of Health and Social Care also confirmed that a compulsory review would be required in every assisted death. While the detailed procedures are not set out on the face of the bill, the Minister says this was intentional, allowing time after royal assent for consultation and development of independent review mechanisms before the Act is brought into force. Ms Christian stresses that should royal assent be granted, the Act will not be commenced until all secondary legislation and the Code of Practice have been developed, consulted upon and approved by Tynwald. Minister Christian says the next step is for the Ministry of Justice to finalise its submission to the Lord Chancellor. Once that advice is issued, the Isle of Man government expects to receive an indication of when the Lord Chancellor's advice to His Excellency will conclude this stage of the royal assent process. Mover of the bill, Ramsey MHK Alex Allenson told the House this morning it's not uncommon for the Ministry of Justice to request additional clarification. However, other backbenchers questioned whether it was usual for it to take this long.
Lewis Foster reporting. You can find the full story on the Manx Radio website. We'll also have more about that on breakfast tomorrow morning. It's coming up to 5:10, and we're going to stay with the House of Keys news now because the MHK behind the plan to make period products available free of charge admits her measure has been changed drastically during its passage through the House of Keys. But Joni Farragher says she's prepared to live with that in order to support the principle. The bill passed its clauses stage this afternoon, and Ms Farragher says it's modelled on what's been done in Scotland.
I would have preferred my original bill. The reason that I brought it was because it contains all of the principles in the primary legislation, and I felt that it was important to have those principles there. It was based on the legislation that's passed in other jurisdictions. Obviously, Scotland was a world leader here, and was widely and internationally acclaimed for their work on period poverty and for this bill that they passed. So that's why I modelled it on their bill. However, what's happened is that the Cabinet Office, which is the owning department, have amended it in order to make it more flexible for them to administrate. They've engaged with me throughout. They've changed the bill drastically. So that and they have removed a lot of the principles that were in it. However, I decided in the end that I would give the amendments my support because the team are very clear that they have every intention of retaining the principles of free period products within public toilets to address dignity needs and to address period poverty.
Can I just ask, if it was acceptable in Scotland, why was it not acceptable here?
And that is a very, very good question. And the exact question that I asked, the only answer that I really got was that they wanted to make it easier and more flexible.
Workable. They were looking for a workable model, presumably.
That's right. And of course, we must bear in mind that we don't actually have the same setup as the UK. The way that they rolled it out in jurisdictions across the UK is by using local authorities. Local authorities don't have the same function over here, so we had to put it into a government department. Now that necessarily changes the way that it's going to work.
That's Joni Farragut, MHK, who is talking to John Moss.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Now, just a warning before we move on to this next story. We are going to be talking about suicide and mental health for the next couple of minutes because a new report has been published looking at suicide rates over here and also mental health services on the Isle of Man. It's been produced by the community group Manx Pact. Christian is here with me now. Fastamai, Christian, just start by telling us what this report is all about, please.
Yeah, Fastamai, Beth. So this is a detailed report which brings together official suicide data, coroner's findings, government policy documents and a large number of anonymised personal accounts from people with lived experience of mental ill health on the island. Now, Manx Pact says its aim is to highlight long-term trends, examine how services are working in practice and ask whether enough is being done to prevent suicide.
So what does it say about the scale of the issue over here?
So the report notes 14 people died by suicide on the island in 2023, which equates to a rate of just over 16 per 100,000 people, and points out that this is higher than figures reported in England and Wales, although it does stress that small population sizes mean comparisons have to be treated carefully. A significant part of the report is devoted to lived experience, like I said, and includes anonymised accounts from adults, young people, families who describe difficulties accessing timely support, long waiting lists, concerns about crisis response and the continuity of care. Now, the document says these voices are often missing from policy discussions.
So what changes then is this report calling for?
Essentially, it's calling for greater engagement with people who use mental health services, clearer accountability within the government, and a sustained investment in prevention and early intervention. Now, the report is critical in places too, but it says its main purpose is to contribute constructively to improving mental health outcomes.
Christian, thank you very much indeed. If you've been affected by any of those issues that we've just been discussing, you can find assistance at manxradio.com/support. And we should also say we have invited Manx Care to respond.
Manx Radio Travel, serviced by Quayside Tyres.
Nothing to report on the police pages, but if you spot anything when you're out and about and can let us know, we are always very grateful. You can email studio@manxradio.com or text 166 177 or find us on WhatsApp as well. Just a couple of things really road work wise. A lot of them have been finishing up over the past couple of days, which is always good. Still those temporary lights on Cool Road near the business park. That is for work on the pavements. And in Douglas, the Millennium Bridge is still closed every night this week. It's from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. and that is for maintenance work. All looking good down at the airport. And the latest with the steam packet, the Manxman's due into Douglas at 5:30, heading out again for Heysham at 7:15.
Manx Radio Travel, serviced by Quayside Tyres. Call Quayside Tyres on 664417 to book your free vehicles winter check so your vehicle is safe for you and other road users.
It is coming up to 5:15. We were really sad when we heard the news that the founder of Jurby Junk, Stella Pixton, has died at the age of 90. Her family have paid tribute to her, as Amy reports.
The infamous shop in the north of the island appeared on many national television programmes and saw people travel from all over the world to visit it. It became something of a tourist attraction before it closed in 2017 after more than 40 years, so Stella could enjoy her retirement. Her family have now paid tribute to her in an obituary shared by Corkill and Callow funeral directors. They say Stella would welcome customers 7 days a week, wearing her black leather dress, of which she had 7 identical ones for each day of the week, and that she'd always take great pleasure in seeing the shock they'd experience walking into the shop for the first time. Stella would also supply props to many of the films made on the island free of charge, on the condition that she could appear in a small cameo somewhere in them. Her son says she was a truly remarkable woman with a truly unique business strategy, saying, "Everything I make, I put back into the shop for my customers." He recalled living in London as a young boy when she ran her own department, working for the UK government at the Central Office of Information, something he says was very unusual for a single mum in the 60s and 70s. Her friends and family will remember her with the fondest love and affection for her sense of fun, hard work, dedication and stoic approach to whatever task lay before her. Her son finished saying she was an inspiration, an icon, a hero.
She certainly was. Amy Griffiths reporting there on the death of Stella Pixton at the age of 90. I'm sure many of us have got those fond memories of wandering around Jurby Junk and picking up stuff that we didn't even need. But yeah, very sad to hear that news today. It's 16 minutes past 5. Well, something else from the House of Keys. Treasury told them that it was working on a potential payment card system similar to MyCards, which would eventually replace the scheme. You might remember that towards the end of last year, they were withdrawn, a move that prompted significant political pressure, leading government to reverse course and extend their use for a further 12 months for certain people. Well, the Treasury Minister, Chris Thomas, gave this update in Keys this morning.
On 26th and 27th of November, Social Security officers phoned customers who hadn't responded to the letters which had been sent to them to check they'd received the letters and to establish whether they were now able to provide their bank account details to the Social Security Division. If they did not have a bank account, the officers then assessed whether they may be eligible for the payment exception service, whereby they would be able to enrol for a new MyCard. All of the MyCards that were in issue before the end of last year expired on 31st of December 2025. Those who in the Social Security Division are satisfied do not have a bank account or would not be able to use one have been issued with a letter which enabled them to enrol for a new MyCard under Treasury's payment exception service. Former MyCard users who declined to give their bank account details to the Social Security Division or failed to engage with the Social Security Division have since the beginning of this year been paid their benefits or state pension by means of government cheques, which they can cash at a post office or pay into their bank account if they have one. Treasury is continuing to explore longer-term alternative payment solutions for those who don't have bank accounts and cannot reasonably be expected to open or use one, and has engaged with potential providers. Discussions are ongoing. Per the Tynwald resolution, I undertake to provide more details no later than the sitting of the Honourable Court upstairs in May or even earlier if possible.
That is the Treasury Minister, Chris Thomas there. It's 18 minutes past 5. Now, Public Health Isle of Man says a new survey examining medicinal cannabis and other substance use will help it better understand changing patterns in society over here. So this study aims to create a fresh research base following recent changes to cannabis prescription laws. Residents have until the 18th of March to share their views on alcohol and illicit drug use. Director of Public Health, Matt Tyra, has been talking to Christian Jones.
If we don't ask the questions and look at how things have changed, it's much harder to get that understanding of how things have changed since we last looked at the information and how things are likely to change in the future.
And this survey, like you've touched on, also looks at alcohol and illicit drug use alongside medicinal cannabis. Why is it so important to look at all of that together rather than in isolation?
It's very important not to take data points in isolation. So a single year is just a snapshot of what's happening at that time. But when you combine it with looking back at previous health and lifestyle surveys that have looked at the quantity of people who are, or what quantity of alcohol people are consuming within a week, what proportion of the population are using cannabis, either on a medicinal basis or on a recreational basis, or other illicit drugs, it helps us to understand how patterns change over time and how that's likely to, what effect that's likely to have both on the health and well-being of our population, but also how people perceive that. And I think I really want to emphasize as well that because we are asking some potentially sensitive questions around illicit substances, we want to be clear that this survey is entirely voluntary and completely anonymous. There's no risk for disclosing behaviours within this survey. It will only be anonymous. It will only be looked at as large population level data, so no individual will be identifiable from this.
That is the Director of Public Health on the Isle of Man, Dr. Matt Tyrer. Now, Jurby Commissioners say they'll be consulting residents about whether to continue supporting the Manx Family Centre's mobile library. The local authority received correspondence from the charity asking if it could visit the parish on specific days during the week. Also on its agenda when Jurby Commissioners met last night was an update about the Northern Civic Amenity site and a visiting ice cream van. Local Democracy reporter Emma Draper was there.
The Commissioners said it needs to establish how many residents in the parish use the mobile service. The library was previously known as the Family Library and was threatened with closure in July 2025. After a number of fundraising campaigns, the library is now run by the Manx Family Community Association, which is an independent charity. The board said the cost of £500 for the year would be reasonable if enough people were using it. Clerk Barry Kennedy said if people stopped paying for the service, then it could cease to exist. The board agreed to ask the charity how many residents use it. Also on the agenda was an update on the Northern Civic Amenity site. The clerk confirmed to the board that an invoice had been received from the Department of Infrastructure for its last payment of 2025. He also said that no further information had been provided by the department about the future of the NCAS. Currently, a tender process has been started by the government for an operator of the site, and the local authority has granted a local ice cream van a licence to operate for 2 more years. Manx Whippy had asked to continue operating in the parish. The 2 years was queried by Commissioner Yasmin Cowell, but the clerk confirmed that's the maximum they can offer. Jurby Commissioners will next meet on Monday the 9th of March.
Local Democracy reporter Emma Draper there. Now, a roadshow giving people a chance to meet and talk with the matrons from Nobles Hospital will get underway on Thursday. It's as Manx Care prepares to launch its new Experience and Involvement strategy. Directors of Nursing Cathy Quine and Emma Cleater and Experience and Engagement Officer Karen Maddox say these meetings will enable a connection with those who rely on the healthcare body.
The relaunch of the matron has been invaluable. They are now more accessible for the patients and their families, those that are accessing our services. We've had Make the Matrons events within the hospital, and we've also had community events where we've been on stalls, for example, at the agricultural show.
So we are launching our 3-year experience and involvement strategy, and this will build on the already fantastic foundations that we've put in place since Manx Care came to be in 2021, and that is the Manx Care Advice and Liaison Service. So we started there, and we've now developed that through with a survey, Friends and Family Survey, which we get around 2,000 feedbacks a month. And now what we're looking to do is get that deeper involvement. So for the next 3 years, this is about matron leadership. This is about being visible, direct engagement, telling us how you feel, what you want to change, and becoming really part of it. That we can't do this on our own. We need the public's involvement. We need our third sector charities to be really there with us, working together to hear the patient voice and to take that further so that we can make those improvements. And that's really what the strategy is about over the next 3 years.
We've got some sessions booked for this month, so we've connected with Costa Coffee and we want them to come and meet with us and the matrons throughout February. So we're going to be in Ramsey, in the Costa Coffee in Crosby, in Nobles Hospital Foyer and in Castletown, and we want them to come and have a conversation with us so that we know. Already we have engaged with our charities last week, and we got some really, really good information from them. And that could range from we need to do some work on our signage, but we also value the work that our charities do, and they become those they are expert in their charity work that can have a great influence on how we deliver care in the organisation.
And as I mentioned, the first meeting is at Costa Coffee in Ramsey this Thursday. It's from 1 until 3 p.m. Sport now with the Print Shed, and here's Rob Pritchard.
First off this evening, Isle of Man professional boxer Jade Burden has confirmed the date of her first fight in 2026. The Grenade has announced she'll return to the ring in Portsmouth on Saturday, the 11th of April. Furthermore, the Island competitor adds the opportunity is real to bring a title back to the Isle of Man. And more details on her opponent and the fight itself are expected expected to be revealed in the next week. Well, having made her professional debut in boxing in 2024, the Manx fighter has won all 4 of her pro contests so far. The latest of those was a points victory over former English and Commonwealth title contender Lindsay Bashinsky in Blackpool in November last year. In athletics, Manx competitor Regan Corrin has shattered his own Isle of Man men's long jump record during recent competition in the UK. Contesting the men's under-20 long jump final at the England Athletics Indoor Championships in Sheffield last weekend, Corrin managed to clear a distance of 7.57 metres on his first jump. This surpasses the previous Ireland men's national benchmark of 7.31 metres he set during 2025. Well, during this latest competition, Corrin's efforts went on to see him secure the silver medal in Sheffield, beaten only by a 7.73 metre jump from event winner Daniel Amegbor. Furthermore, Corrin did also manage a leap of 7.55 metres on his third attempt during the final, so that's 2 jumps that actually went further than his previous record. Elsewhere, completing the podium during the men's under-20 long jump final was Sammy Locke, who managed a best jump of 7.29. And finally, the Isle of Man ladies over 45s hockey team have claimed another victory in this year's England Hockey Championships. The Island side ran out 6-1 winners at Alderley Edge on Sunday to progress again in the EH Women's over 45s Vars competition. Jo Quine opened the scoring for the Manx squad in the first half before 2 further strikes from Donna Harrison put the visitors in control come half-time. And in the second period, Kerry Cowley bagged a brace to make it 4-5 before Harrison completed a hat-trick to cap off a resounding win. It's the Isle of Man's second victory in this tournament so far, after a 3-1 win away at Deeside Ramblers in the previous round.
Rob, thank you very much indeed. Well, that is all from Update this evening. Coming up next, it is the return of Countryside. Our favourite duo is back. Kiri and Simon will hear about the Isle of Man farm shop at Glen Helen. Do take a look on our Facebook page. There's a wonderful video of it there. It looks absolutely brilliant. Simon will also be finding out about the big farmland bird count, and Kiri hears about the yellow wethies. So you can join them from 5:30 or check out the podcast via the Manx Radio website or at all the usual places. Then it's Greatest Hits with Chris Kinley. The Folk Show with John Barker is at 9. Then Dave will be with you from 10 p.m. with After Hours. So whatever you're doing this evening, have a good one. Update will be back at 5 tomorrow.